For the month of October, I wanted to get into a spooky mood by playing some horror games, and one that my sister recommended was called The Witch's House. It's a horror game made to RPG Maker where has you play as a young girl named Viola who stumbles upon a big house and realizes, oh shit, this isn't safe, and tries to leave. And after playing through the game, which I streamed on my Twitch, you should go follow, I would say that's a pretty good game and one that would definitely be slotted up in my top 3 RPG Maker games. There are 2 versions of the game available, one released in 2012 that's free to play, and a remastered version released in 2018 on Steam that goes for around $15. I won't be recounting my personal experience playing through the original game, but the gameplay shown in this video will be the remastered version, so there is a slight chance there could be some differences, as I am writing the script before I play the Steam version, so there's probably a chance I would bump in mentioning something if I have to. I also highly recommend playing the game for yourself, since I'm going to be talking about my experience playing the game, which is like 70 to 80% of the whole game, so spoiler warning. The game starts off with a girl named Viola waking up in the middle of the forest along with a black cat nearby. Wandering around the forest, she's surrounded by a bunch of roses with a small patch on the top and a bigger patch on the bottom. Around the bigger patch of roses, there's a machete she can pick up, which can be used to cut the small patch, as doing it to the other one won't make a single dent. Now before the roses are cut, you'll notice there's another item in Viola's inventory, that being a letter. When we read it, it talks about how her father doesn't want to go deep inside the forest. After cutting the patch, the machete breaks, leaving Viola with no other option but to go deeper into the forest, stumbling upon a house and entering inside. But not just any house, the witch's house. Oh, there we go. That's the credits roll, that's it, that's the name. Entering the house, there's a single room she can enter, and when you do... Yeah, it's best to mention that this is one of those trial and error games where messing up a little bit can just kill you, so be prepared to see a lot of death throughout this video. I'll be primarily talking about the deaths I've encountered, but I can guarantee you there's probably hundreds more that I just didn't see. So after we don't die and head over to the other side, there'll be a sign that says come to my room. Exiting the room Viola is currently in, the house changes its layout, with the room now being decorated with the black cat once more. Exploring around, we can see 2 new rooms. The room on the left has a table with scissors and a locked door to the next area, with the room on the right being a hallway that connects to the other 2 rooms, one on the bottom being an empty room with a bear in a basket and a sign, and the other on top being the most filled, having a closet, a table with a book, and a box full of presents. Entering the top room on the right, we can see the details I mentioned before, along with other decorations. Interacting with the presents gets us a teddy bear, interacting with the closet tells us to check it out later, and reading the book tells us a story about how someone who was sick and lonely. Keep in mind, this diary tells the backstory of the witch and how she came to be, so each of these entries are very important, and I'll be summarizing them whenever one is available. And without spoiling future events, the majority of the diaries are visualized in a prequel that I'll talk about later. With that in mind, picking up the bear will probably make us remember that there's a bigger and stronger and hotter bear in the other room, so we head there to put them in a little basket for some alone time, but unfortunately the small bear can't fit in, so we do what we usually do in the heat of the moment. Cut off the bear limbs with your scissors in the room, which for some reason starts to bleed. Man up, bro, your love is waiting for you. After leaving the couple to do their own thing, we head back to the room with the scissor when this happens. Yep, the father of the couple arrives. I'll be completely honest here, that moment scared the crap out of me. As for my reaction, it's so simple yet so effective at the same time, and that's honestly what got me to finish the game to the end. Once we escape from the big teddy, we head to where it was chasing us from, which was the scissor room, and walking around drops the limbs of the teddy bear we cut off earlier. Out of respect, we pick up the limbs and head into the next room. The next room leads into a dining area occupied with fine china, a fireplace, and a kitchen with Gordon Ramsay?
What are you? An idiot sandwich.
Looking around the table, we'll see a weird skull with green stuff inside of it that's obviously poison, so we need to figure out how to not die from that. So we go and ask the chef for help, and he mentions how he's really busy. For me, I remembered that we took the limbs from the bear earlier, so I give the bear limbs, and he says thanks and gives me a key. Now the key the chef gave us was a silver key, and while there's no door that works with the key, putting the key into the bowl turns it black, which unlocks the door in the kitchen. So after saying goodbye to the chef, we head into the door where we go up some stairs to the next floor.
What the fuck was that?
Heading upstairs into the next room, we see a large hallway with the cat once more. Going to the end of the hallway, we see a door that is locked with a text that says save the butterfly. The butterfly the text is talking about is located in the first of 3 rooms, and from there, we can just grab it and leave with no issues. Man, I love complex puzzles. So the reason why that happened was because there was a spider in the same room with the butterfly, and along with the spider is another sign that says how the spider has bad eyesight, which means that we can find something similar to the butterfly, we can get the real one and not die. Looking at the other 2 rooms, we have a library with a bunch of books and an invisible person reading some, along with a mirror that does... Okay. In the other room, we have displays filled with nothing, except for 2, where one has a head inside and the other one has the fake butterfly we need. Now, do you want to know how the puzzle was solved? In the room full of barrels, there just happens to be one single barrel that had a rope that we just need to give to the invisible person who unalives himself and drops a book, and we should put it inside the bookshelf located deep within the display room. And now how we're supposed to know that rope's location? That beats me. That's like the only thing I'm salty about in this game, but maybe they fixed it in the remastered version. But I also think it's best to mention this, but in the library room, there is a bunch of books that you're able to read, and some important ones that I should mention is about how the witch's house works, and a newspaper article mentioning the death of 2 parents along with their daughter Ellen going missing during the incident. Anyways, the book that we really need the most is the Book of Death, in which we get it from the invisible person who does the thing I said earlier. After putting the book in the correct shelf and avoiding the prompt to read it, one that I totally didn't click by accident, we're now able to pick up the model butterfly. But as we're doing that, yeah, remember how I said there was a head in another display? Yeah, it broke out. So after getting away from that, replacing the butterfly with the fake one, and the real one disappearing after all the goddamn work we did, we can now head to the next floor. Heading up from the bags of bags, we come across a cat once more, talk to it, and head down to the room where we... Okay, now that's just cheap. After we dodge the knives, we finally go on to the next floor, and honestly, this is the simplest one to do out of all of them in the game because all we gotta do is one simple puzzle in the right room. Although that room is locked at the beginning, and the only way to open it is to go to the other room where a cute little frog is, get it to join us, and have it jump across a tight crossing to pull a lever, because if we try... So once the homeboy frog activates the lever, we can now enter the room where all we have to do is match the left side of the room to the right side. I'm not really going to go in depth on how this one works because it's literally just a matching puzzle, but after that's done, you can enter the next room where there'll be another sign and another journal from the witch. Reading the journal talks about how the witch has lived in this house ever since her parents didn't love him, so she exed them? After reading that and looking at the board, it reads along the lines of don't let anything distract you in the next room, and they mean it, because if you do anything other than walking forward, so make sure throughout this room you just walk where you need to go and let nothing stop you, not even that knife, because again, escaping that room will make us enter the last room of this floor, and honestly this is the saddest one because if you try to go through the doorway, we'll notice that there is a giant snake through the other side, and if you go you die. So the only way to get across is to sacrifice the frog. I'll miss you, buddy. When we do that, we hear its final scream, and now we're able to go ahead, but not after seeing our little buddy one last time. Oh, I can't bear this, man. Okay, you know what? Never mind. I would have aged them too. Now entering the next floor, we pass a statue of cats, including one that looks like the one we know. And after passing that is when we get to our next puzzle, where there's a hallway full of doors with eyelids and a sign that says, "Go where only one eye is open." If you go to any of the other eye, you die. But wait, none of them have a singular eye open. So how do we solve this? That's right! Between the wall, where you have to smash it with your own 2 hands. Isn't that neat? Okay, again, how the hell was someone supposed to know that out of the blue? Because, whatever, alright? Because once we do that, we actually get to the main puzzle of this room, the light puzzle. All we have to do is figure out a way to light 4 candles by making various sounds in these rooms. The first way is to go to the room with paintings and a pumpkin. Along with those objects, there's a sign that says "Blue Eye See the Score." We'll get back to that later. All we have to do is just smack the pumpkin a few times and it activates 1 candle and a room. Entering the room has a riddle with various objects that represents the riddle. It says, "I can be the sun, I can be sand, and I can be a bird." Funny enough, this shit took me all the wrong answers before realizing that the right answer was a clock. I don't know why that took me that long, but it did. Solving the riddle will give us a key in which we can use in another room, where inside is like a normal room in a rich person's place, except with the addition of a music box on the top. Playing the music box will of course play music, and during this time you can also walk around and notice another door to the left. Entering that door, there will be a jack-in-the-box that pop up only when you play the music box, and there's also another diary. The diary entry talks about how a demon appeared after the witch X'd her parents, and it gave her a house and only asked for more people to eat, in which the demon will eventually cure her illness. Me personally, I take that deal any day, baby. Give me that free goddamn house. Alright, reading that journal and Jack in the Box was good enough, and the music box still playing, so I think we're good and we can continue to the next area of the puzzle. You Yeah, so apparently the music box is like out of tune and we need to find a way to fix it. Luckily, we did that puzzle earlier with the riddle me this type of bullshit, and we got a queen key in return. So we put the queen key in the music box before we started it, and now it's in the right tune, and now we can leave without getting shot. Now there's only one room left, yet there are still 2 candles yet to be lit. We'll get that to in a few minutes, don't worry. Going to the top room, there's a piano in the center along with a bookshelf and a door to the next floor, but of course it's locked until we finish the puzzle. There's also a sign behind the door that says you don't have to play the piano, because guess what? We do that, we die. So now we have to find a way to get a music score without playing the piano. Wait, score? Like how a blue eye would see the score? Yep. So we go back into the room with the paintings and we look at where each of them are looking, going to the edge of the wall. On the bottom, we can interact with each spot the paintings we're looking at. All of them bring up nothing except for the second one, which has a set of music sheets. As we pick that up, the painting suddenly comes to life and starts chasing us, and the only way we can escape is to destroy the painting. Man, Da Vinci wouldn't be happy with this. After escaping, putting the music sheet on the piano and letting it play by itself, we now have 3 of the 4 lights on, along with another key called the king key. Now the last light is located back where we did the riddle, as once we solve the riddle, the clock is the only one left, along with a chair. We have to drag the chair to the front of the clock and put the king key inside the clock. We now have all 4 lights and we can proceed to the next room somewhat. Once we enter the room that was locked, there will be a statue that will not let you go to the next floor, as she is crying that she has lost her ring. Right when she mentions this, a loud ass boom can be heard in the piano room, and when we head back, there's a big hole in the room. Going into the hole takes us back to the first floor with all the fine china and the kitchen with our homeboy Gordon Ramsay. Heading back into the kitchen, there's a pot boiling with stuff inside of it, and a door behind the area where Mr. Ramsay was, and heading inside, there's lots and lots of bones. Deep inside the bone room, there's a skeleton with golden chopsticks that we can pick up from its ribs. With the chopsticks, we can use it to look inside the boiling pot and inspect it to get a pig ring. However, we're locked in the kitchen unless we follow the door's instruction to return things the way they were. That means to simply put the chopsticks back into the skeleton. However, when we go back and try to put the chopsticks inside the skeleton, there's multiple prompts to pick which body part of the skeleton to put the chopsticks in. Picking the wrong one will make Gordon Ramsay mad and punish us for making the wrong choice, but picking the right one will let us leave and give the ring to the statue. Once we give it to the statue, we can finally ascend to the next and final floor. Okay, I gotta say, what the fuck was that? Literally from the first time seeing this, all the way from now, with like all the knowledge I know, I'm still confused as to why this scene happened or what significant was behind this. Anyways, after that cutscene, we can head into a doorway with 3 dolls. Putting the dolls in the correct order will open the door for us, where we can enter the final puzzle room. Now, I'll be real with you, this is the one I can remember the most, but it is really difficult for me to describe this floor, so bear with me in advance. So on this floor, the area we are in has a bench with a cat on it, a white small flower, and a giant big ass tree. There are also 3 doors that lead to different rooms, with the right door being a prison cell that leads to other puzzle rooms, the left door having a normal room with 2 other rooms, one being a dark maze, and the top door which leads to a poison room that you need to go through to continue the game. But it is blocked up by a bunch of vines that we need to get rid of first. Going to the left room, there is a table with a bunch of flowers, beds, and a clock tower. Interacting with the clock tower just kills you. I don't know why that's there honestly, but beyond that, there are 2 other rooms. One that is pitch black, so we're not able to go there until we get a light source, and another room with a diary from the witch. Going into the room that's next to it gives us another diary entry in which it talks about how the witch met a girl with long golden braids, and if you look at our player, ah shit, we're fucked. Leaving that room and interacting with the flower, they will talk amongst themselves, don't you fucking dare, and talk about how they hate the white flower and they want to get rid of it, or you know, X Heading to the white flower will give us many options to exit, but if we pick the wrong one, we die. So we can either do some trial and error, or we can head into the next room to find some clues. In the room on the right, there are 2 cells along with a bird trapped in a cage and a bunch of red grass. At the entrance, there is a book with a description of each plant we've met or seen. The white flower is described as the most beautiful garden, and their petals are able to grow in rain. The yellow flowers have pollen that can kill or give life, and the red grass have knowledge but always lie. With that information and heading to the end of the room, we can see a bunch of red grasses. Talking to each of them, we'll talk about the proper way to kill the white flower, and through detective work, and by that I mean trial and error because I'm dumb as hell, we kill the white flowers and tell the yellow flowers about this. They say hip hip hooray and give us a white powder. I don't like where this is going. And going back to where the white flower was, we can pick up their leftover petals for future usage. And heading back into the cell room, we can actually interact with the cell doors. The first one does nothing, while the second one has someone coughing, and being the saint we are, we give the individual the white powder hoping he would be okay, but once we give it to him, he gets mad saying that he needs something else to use the powder. Greedy bitch. But on the right side, the prisoner did knock over the bird, and because of that, the last room can now be entered. Before heading to the other room, looking around the room we are currently in, we'll also notice 2 other doors near the entrance. The one on the right leads to a hallway that leads to a room full of skulls, and the one on top has nothing for now. What we have to do is simply solve the skull puzzle in the last room, because as we were exploring around, there were skulls located across each room, and picking up a total of 4 of them, we're able to go back and put the skulls in the missing slot. This puzzle was the most confusing for me, as I literally could not see the pattern as how the skulls were displayed, so I literally just guessed with 2 on the top facing the front and the bottoms left and right, and somehow that was the right choice and it worked. Once the puzzle is solved, we will hear something make noise and then we head back. You can't do that, that's fucked up. After escaping the skull, we can go to the other room that was empty and now have some water with tadpoles as well. We'll come back to this later, but fun fact, if you talk to the tadpoles, they will mention how someone they know has died and it was our fault, leading us to drown in the pond. Heading out of the cell, we head into the poison room that was locked up earlier. Entering inside, we are given a timer of 15 seconds before we die, and walking into the poison puddle will just kill us instantly. However, doing the unique mechanic of leaving right when the timer is low, we can look around the room for any items of significance. Walking around, there is a book that talks about skulls, while in the top right corner is a shelf of bottles in which we can take one for ourselves. With this, we can head back to the tadpole room and scoop up the water to put in the glass, and if you remember earlier, the book about the plants talk about how the white flower glows in the rain. So with the petals we picked up earlier, we can mix it in the bottle water, and now we have a glowing bottle. We can use this bottle to head into the room that was pitch black earlier, in the room with yellow flowers, and going inside with really little light, we can scrummage around this maze to find the item the prisoner needs, which is a jade pipe. And I'll be honest, this was the most traumatizing section of the game, mainly the fact that there's so little light, and the jumpscares and death that happened in this area was honestly the scariest of them all. So apologies for the fact that I don't really talk about it, because I just don't feel comfortable remembering it. The scary faces is where I draw the line, honestly, so yeah. Giving the jade pipe to the prisoner, the other cell door is unlocked and we can enter inside, where we can obtain a red slipper and a text board at the end saying let them bleed. Fun fact, this puzzle was so difficult for me that I deadass had to look up the answer, and I hated the fact that I did. Because if you decide to wear the slipper, Viola's head comes off with her body running away, and for minutes I had no clue how to not let that happen, as in the poison room there's a sign that says the only way to pass through the poison floor was to have colorless shoes. So after minutes of confusion, it turned out all I had to do was go to the lake where the tadpoles were and wash the slippers there to get rid of the red color, making us able to walk on the poison floor. I am astonished. My stomach is rumbling. I am astonished as to how I didn't know that. Yeah, I'm confused too, bro. With the ability to walk on poison now, we can walk all the way through to the end, where we enter a room with another diary and the cat once more. Reading the diary, it talks about how the witch couldn't kill the girl because it could potentially save her from her illness. Oh, look at that, we are a saint. Going to the next room, we enter a laboratory of some sort where we get a small little bottle, but as we pick it up, a doll's head gets thrown near us. This is the last doll we need to finish that puzzle from earlier. Getting the doll head, we're chased by a bunch of eyes, no clue, just go with it, and after escaping the eyes, the poison from earlier goes away. And with that, we can head into a room that was just visible earlier from the poison room, and in that room, there's a doll's body in which we can pick it up and fuse with the doll head to create the purple doll that we didn't have. So now we can head back and put it in its place. Also, everything just turns red, like the grass and everything. So, you know, that's fun, not scary at all. Putting the last doll on the pedestal opens a hole in the ground in which we can enter the finale. Heading inside, we come across a hallway lit up by the sun, and going to the end of the hallway, we can see the corpse of a black cat behind a doorway. Entering the doorway, we come across a horrific sight. A bed with stains on it and the carpet, a tumbled chair knocked over, and a cup spilled with liquids pouring out. Looking more is another journal from the witch's diary, and the entry on it: the game lets us save from this moment, and that's good because from here, we'll be talking about the possible endings we can get. Once we save, our only goal now is to simply get out of the house with the witch chasing us at a really fast speed, and that's going to be difficult. The first ending we can get is by simply escaping the house, just get out and that's it. Once we're out, if we head to the beginning of the game where the petals of flowers are, there's another letter from Viola's father, presumably one that fell out before we started the game. Now reading the letter in its entirety, her father talks about how he yelled at Viola because of a legend regarding the witch and how her friend Ellen lives in that area, so she should watch out. After reading that, we head into the large vine of roses and pour the bottle that we got from the laboratory, which dissolves the roses, and we can finally escape. When we get out, we meet a guy that turns out to be Viola's father, in which he comforts her and they walk out together. Seeing the monsters, Viola's dad gets in front of her and shoots the witch till she's dead, in which now they leave without any disturbance. As they leave, Viola looks back at the horror she's endured before continuing to walk away, but as she does, she sees the black cat one last time before he fades away, along with a question mark appearing at the end of the screen. This is simply called a good ending, since in the name we can just get out and enjoy our lives, but as we just saw, there is still something we haven't truly discovered just yet. This brings us back to the beginning of the game, as if you remembered, there was a closet that said to come back when the house had returned to normal. And if you notice, as we were escaping from the witch, the house felt shorter, and we didn't have to run through all the traps we did earlier, which means during the chase, that was the moment the house had returned to normal. If we can juke the witch and get to the closet, we can get Ellen's knife, and once we escape again and get rid of the roses, something else will happen. So just in case if you haven't caught on by now, Ellen was the name of the witch. However, we were not running away from Ellen throughout the entire game. No, we were helping her the entire time because we were playing as her, as the body switching that is mentioned in the diary has already happened before the game even started. So Viola was in Ellen's body the entire time, making her dad liable for all the
damages that happen next.
But wait, there's more, because there are 2 more endings we can get. The first one is called the blank ending, where all we have to do is just stand at the big patches of roses for a whole hour in game, meaning, you have to be on the game, click it has to be active. You can't like, walk away or click on another thing and walk away for a few hours. No, you have to stay on the game and for a whole hour, because once an hour has passed, the roses will disappear and you can just walk away without having to do anything else. The second one is more complex, as to achieve it you have to complete the extra mode in the MV version of the game. Not only do you have to do that though, but you also have to not save the entire time you play it, so good luck with that. Achieving that, however, will grant us more context as to how the body switching took place, along with some dialogue from the cat, which turns out to be a demon. I'm not gonna go too much into detail on the context right now, because after the game was released, the creator of the game released a book called The Witch's House: The Diary of Ellen. Now, like the game, I highly recommend that you buy this book, because not only is there a normal word book, but there's also a manga available, which I'll be showing snippets of in this video. The Diary of Ellen focused on Ellen, who else, before the events of the game, from her illness all the way to the body switch. It also visualizes and gives us more context from each journal entry that she wrote, while also giving us some lore as to how the rule of being a witch works. Long story short, she got powers, she's immortal, but the only way she can die is through immense despair. God damn it, Danganronpa filling my games everywhere I go, god damn you! Personally, I read the manga version as I vowed to never read a book again once I've graduated high school, and overall, I really liked it, and it's honestly a good form of content to people who want some more of the Witch's House. And I also like how the only new thing that come out after the remaster was a prequel book, and whatever happens after the ending is completely up to our interpretation. Ellen and Viola's body can just be living a normal life, or she can just take over Manhattan. I don't know, that's something I just love about the book. It just makes you connect with Ellen more, and makes you wonder the question of what happens next after the game. The book also gives some context about Viola before the game, but I don't care about her because, she's dead. Okay, for real though, I also do like how it actually gives a reason for Viola wanting her body back, because besides the fact that the body she got transferred to was looking like SpongeBob, she was actually going to be okay with giving her body to Ellen until she sees Ellen's vision of love and it turns into Viola's body, showing her that yeah, she's gonna replace me and that ain't cool. And that's why she blocks the exit in the game. Honestly, this can be for another video, but if a game or show or media can't do a sequel, they should just do a prequel, and this is a really good example of one. Overall, this can be summarized as a short but sweet experience, a game that takes a few hours to beat yet somehow has lasted an impression on me for weeks, along with a book that adds more impact, which simply makes the game memorable and 100% worth the play and read. This has also been something that my sister and her friends have loved for years, and I'm finally glad I got the chance to play it and seeing what all of it was about, and I just cannot stop talking about it, especially talking about how you guys should try it out too. I will leave a link in the description for the game on Steam for the MV version, the one with improved graphics and content, and the original version, the one that is free to play, and the Diary of Ellen, both in book and manga format. After everything I've been through this game, it deserves a good second place on my RPG Maker horror game list. Now, what's the first one, you ask? We'll talk about it later. I gotta go get some sleep now. Goodbye!